a.m. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for our very first workshop in the Adobe Extravaganza event. We're just going to jump right in. My name's Katie Edmiston. I work here at the library and was one of the folks involved with getting this all organized. But I'm not presenting today. Today we are hearing from Jim Babbage, the Senior Solutions Consultant for Adobe Systems. So Jim is here today, and you should be able to see him if you're online. He'll be sharing his screen and presenting. Jim is very passionate about teaching and photography. And before he joined Adobe in 2011, he was a college professor for 21 years, teaching imaging, web design, and photography. Jim has spoken at a variety of tech conferences, including Adobe Max and numerous education-focused conferences as well. And he's going to be walking us through multiple workshops today. As I mentioned, the first one is Adobe Acrobat Pro, and we're very excited to have him here with us. So everybody, please help me to welcome Jim. Thank you so much for coming. And next, I think we'll just hear briefly from Stephen, and then we'll jump in.
Hi, I'm Steve Watson. I'm an Adobe Senior Customer Success Manager for Adobe. I work with creative campuses, of which Central Michigan is one. If you ever want to discuss more about what that means, I'm happy to have that conversation with you. But part of the Creative Campus program is doing workshops with different areas of campus that kind of encourage a digital learning experience with Adobe software. So we're really happy to be with you here today and really excited to work with the folks that are in the digital lounge. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And now I think we're all set for you to share your screen, Jim.
Great. Okay. All right. Sharing away. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much, Katie, for the introduction. I just have a little quick infographic up there for those of you who want to have a look. And as a little teaser, these are the kinds of things we'll be talking about in the upcoming Adobe Express session later this morning. But I'm really happy to be here, really excited to be here. From across the river, I am your international guest speaker based in Toronto, Ontario. And our first session today is all about Acrobat. And we're going to talk about a few different things here, primarily because Acrobat is probably one of, not the oldest product that Adobe has in its arsenal of tools, but certainly probably one of the ones that most people don't seem to understand all the value that's inside of it. Right. When we think of Acrobat, we think of PDFs. We think, okay, Acrobat makes PDFs. Acrobat reads PDFs. And that's kind of where we stop a lot of times when we think about it. But what's interesting is that we have a whole range of other things we can do with Acrobat that a lot of people don't realize are there. And a lot of it's still in that productivity capability, but we're going to take a look at a few of these different things today. Maybe a little teaser about some of the new things that are happening towards the end with Acrobat. But we're going to get started right off the bat here. I'm just going to go and bring up my Acrobat screen. And I'm just going to move around a couple of windows here in Teams so I can sort of see things a bit better. And we're going to start off. Let's see if I can minimize this thing. Bear with me for a second. There we go. Get that out of the way. Teams has all these other little windows and stuff I got to move so I can see my entire screen. I'm in the Acrobat interface right now. And probably one of the things that is most popular, or most what we want to see mostly with Acrobat is starting off with how do we and why do we create PDFs, right? So I'm just going to move a couple windows out of the way here, and a couple of things to think about with PDF files, and the format itself stands for Portable Document Format. And so next time you're playing a trivia game and you've got a tech question, hey, that might be the answer. And it has become a ubiquitous format. There are millions, if not billions, of PDFs circulating the globe in a digital fashion. And it has become a universal format. That was the entire goal of the format, so that you could essentially view and read and experience content without necessarily having to have a native application, whether that's a creative tool like InDesign or a productivity tool like Microsoft Word. You could actually open up that document and read it and interact with it without having to own other software, right? And in many cases, do it using our free Adobe Acrobat Reader. So you didn't even need to own really any kind of licensed software through Adobe. So that's one of the benefits to it. There are a lot of other things people don't realize when we're talking about PDFs and why they can be important. A lot of times when we're trying to share a file, and I know I've run into this. Um, you'll create a file, you'll send it off in its native format, and for whatever reason, the email server rejects it. The file's too large, right? It's too big. It can't be sent out. We have a lot of controls inside of Acrobat to actually optimize a document, whether it's a PowerPoint presentation. And those ones are probably one of the number one culprits, by the way, for file size, because there's a lot of times PowerPoint files have a lot of graphics and they tend not to be optimized initially. So you end up with these very large PowerPoint decks that could be many, many megabytes or, heaven forbid, gigabytes of space. Um, the other reason was what I mentioned earlier. The people who you need to see this document may not have the native application that it was created in, like InDesign or possibly a Microsoft Office tool. Um, PDFs can be viewed not just in an application like Acrobat, but also most browsers will automatically be able to open them, and you can read them right inside the browser. And of course, there's also these little guys, our mobile devices, and we have the Acrobat Reader available in these on mobile devices, as well as a couple other Acrobat-based tools like Adobe Scan is one where you can actually scan a paper document because they're still around and convert it digitally right from your phone. So you get a lot of flexibility from that perspective. So those are some of the reasons why you might do this. So let's talk a bit about how you might do it and take a little quick look at the interface of Acrobat. And just give me 1 second as I close down my email because it is constantly going off. Bear with me for 1 quick second. There we go. Right. Okay, good. All right, so here's our basic interface. I'm going to take us right to the home screen though before we look at anything else. This is what you might be confronted with when you first open up Acrobat, right? This is our home screen. There's a few things I want to point out here. First of all, you'll get a sense of if you've been using Acrobat, some of the tools that are available. I can sort of move through and sort of see what kind of tools are available, the most commonly used tools inside of Acrobat. And you can see there's things in here you may not have thought about. We talked about compressing a PDF, protecting a PDF, either through password protection or redaction, adding comments to a PDF, sharing it, or combining multiple files into a brand new PDF. So you're not sending 15 documents, you're sending one document, and which can be a lot easier on the receiver of that information. Down below that, there's some quick videos on different ways to use Acrobat tutorials, and I can scroll through these as well. The idea here is just to give you, if you're new to Acrobat, give you a sense of what's possible. A lot of the focus right now is on our AI capabilities, which we'll be talking about towards the end. And then I'll also see recent files that I've opened right down at the bottom here. And over on the left-hand side, I'll see a menu of options here, different ways to see the kinds of files I've been working with. My own files, scans I may have created, files I've shared, files that have been shared with me, and then also if I have other online storage, file storage, either my computer or online. And then it just gives me sort of quick access to a lot of those basic functionalities. But what we're going to start with is we're going to go to create. And this is probably the easiest and most common thing people do inside of Acrobat. How do I create a PDF? Now, there's a couple ways to do this. You can do it in a lot of native applications like Microsoft Office tools, for example, and we'll take a quick look at that as well. But also right inside of Acrobat, I can create a PDF from pretty much almost any file format, graphics, Excel files, Word files, PowerPoint files, a whole range of different formats are accepted by Acrobat that can be then converted into the ubiquitous PDF format. So if I just click on Create, I'll be brought to this window, and I can either drag and drop a file right into the screen, or I can search for the file. You'll see here, select file in the middle. And you can also see I can do either a single file, multiple files. Maybe I'm going to connect to a scanner. Maybe I'm pulling in from a web page. This is something people don't realize that Acrobat can also do. If you need to create a PDF document of a web page or a website that you want to refer to later on, you can actually provide Acrobat the URL, and it will actually move out to that website, and based on your settings, how deep you want it to go into that website, it'll pull the content and generate a PDF for you. So that can be really beneficial, because a lot of our content we find these days is on the web. In my case, I'm just going to start with a single file. I'm just going to choose select a file. And I have a whole bunch of stuff here already set up to make life easy. And I'm going to pull in something here, an Excel spreadsheet. Now, this is not going to be sexy. This is an Excel spreadsheet, okay? But I just want to show that you can pull in different kinds of content. So I've got this one here. It's two different spreadsheets, two different data sheets. I just choose Open, and then just choose Create. It's that simple to start that process inside of Acrobat. And you can see there very quickly, I've got page one, and I can actually go through and see the other page that's here. And I also notice I've got an extra page that was probably just a hangover, or an extra piece that the Excel spreadsheet had. I don't need this. There's no content here. So I can delete that right from the document. So I'm already kind of optimizing this file that's come in. The other great thing about working with Acrobat and converting Excel spreadsheets into PDFs is that the numbers are locked in, right? I can't just go ahead and just willy-nilly change the data here. It's basically what I see is what I get, right? So I give myself a little more control over the file from that perspective. So once I've done that, I can go ahead and save this. It's already given me an example file name, but it has not yet been saved. I'm not going to bother saving this, but I just wanted to give you that sense of being able to work with it. And if the file is too small to read, I can always zoom in on the thumbnails themselves of the pages, or I can go right inside and click the plus button, Command plus or Control plus on Windows, and zoom in on the document as well, right? So I've got lots of capability here to convert. Now, if I hop over to Microsoft Word, and let me just grab the right window here. Bear with me. I have lots of windows and too many screens. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is a handbook, example handbook for a healthcare facility. And it's a Microsoft Word document at the moment, right? And I said earlier, we can create PDFs in a variety of different ways. You can do it right from inside Acrobat. But at Microsoft, Office tools also have built-in functionality for converting to PDF as well. You may see a document cloud icon in your ribbon, okay, which is one quick way to generate a PDF. And all I need to do is click on that. It's going to load the document, and you'll notice here it'll prompt me for a file name. I'm just going to say handbook 2. Oops, there we go. And you notice I can also automatically start protecting this document, right? Even before I've left Microsoft Word, I can make this password protected. I'm not going to do that because I'm horrible at remembering passwords, but you do have the ability to secure this document literally at the time of creation, right when you're inside of Microsoft Word. And I can just go ahead and click convert. And it'll take a second, it'll load up Acrobat, and it'll run through that process. And I've got multiple screens open, so it's wanting me to sign in again. I'm not going to worry about that. So we'll just go ahead and skip out of there for a second. And the other options I've got is from the file menu. I can choose to go to file, and I can choose to, whoops, yes, there we go. Where are you? Save as. And I've got the options right in here as well for PDF. Same idea. And you'll notice here, I get two choices. And normally I get both of these choices regardless, but I can choose best for electronic distribution. We talked about files being too large, right? And that can be a challenge, especially with PowerPoint files, for example. So I can choose this option that will automatically optimize the file so it's easier to send by email, right? Or I can choose the option that's best for printing, which is going to give me the best result for actually having to print it out in hard copy. It's really up to me whichever way I want to go with this. All right, so those are some of the options I have for creating that content right out inside of Microsoft Office. Now, if I hop back to Acrobat again, I'm just going to close this Excel spreadsheet because we're not going to work with that one anymore. And we're going to take a look at a couple other options here. When we're talking about creating, the other thing that Acrobat does really well is it creates fillable forms. Now, this is one of those things that it's one of those things that if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. Creating fillable interactive forms it can be a challenge without the right tools, but Acrobat has basically been designed to recognize form fields and give me the ability to turn a static document. This started off as a Microsoft Word document, and it's currently just plain old text and
Please
so
complete all fields. Please complete all fields of this form and upload within 5 days of attendance.
Let's deactivate that. There we go. Had my read out loud going on there for a second. The world's most robotic voice to read out loud. But there you go. All right. So, hey, it's a live presentation. Things happen. So let's take a look at this from the standpoint of what's in here. We've got some basic information we want to get completed here, some check boxes, some radio buttons, some fields down below for submitting travel expenses. Right now, as I said, this is just a document. It's not interactive. I could print it out and fill it out by hand, but let's face it, who wants to do that anymore? My handwriting sucks. I hate filling out a form by hand because half the time I can't even read it when I'm done. So what I want to do here is I want to go into some of the tools we have for creating this kind of document as an interactive form. So you'll see over here on the left-hand side, some of the most common tools are already presented. And that's not all of them though. And this is what I said, is that Acrobat is a surprisingly deep application if you take the time to learn about it. So I'm going to choose View More. And you'll see one of the options that comes up is prepare a form. Now, watch the screen very closely because this will happen really quickly once I choose create form. And by the way, before I hit that, you'll notice I could also say, hey, this document requires signature, right? I can turn that box on or off. So I'm going to make sure that I choose, I'm just going to go ahead and click create form and watch for this. Boom. I now have fillable fields, some of which this one here is a blank area that I won't really need. I could delete that field because it's just empty space. But you can see not only has it created editable fields for me, it's actually labeled them for me as well. And if I look over on the right-hand side, you can see as I move through these fields inside the right-hand side, I can see which ones are there. And if I need to make any adjustments, I can edit these fields as well. You'll see there's the option of student type, first year, transfer, military, non-degree. That's all those radio buttons that are down here. And if I see something that didn't come across, right, you'll notice that we missed one, that radio button right there. I can always add those in as well. So I've got the ability here to really quickly create the form and then customize it. And if I give you a quick example, I'm going to show you one thing here, a finished version, a Betty Crocker version of this. And let's see, there it is. Same form. This is what I would see if I was the one receiving the form to fill out. And if I click on each one of these fields, I can type in all the information I need, right? The dates, who sponsored it. I can fill out expenses. I can choose what my student type was. Did I arrive late? No, of course not. And as I saw, all of you were here on time, so bonus points. Did I leave early? Definitely not. And then I can continue filling this form in. So I can make this available. That could be sent by email to recipients or attendees of an event. It could be something they fill out before they leave the session. It could be something they fill out afterwards. So very, very easy to do and create those forms. And this is a relatively simple form, but Acrobat will recognize fields in a variety of complex forms. So it's something that a lot of people don't realize you can do, but it's really easy to do. So I'm going to close that window. I'm not going to save it. And I'm going to close my, let's see, did I keep it out there? Yes, I did. So we'll just go ahead and close that one as well. All right, not going to save that either in case I need it later on. Okay, so we looked at a couple things here already, how to create a PDF from Acrobat and how to do it from a tool like Microsoft Word, how to create a form. Before I get into some more of the other functionality, I want to just bring up that toolbar set again here and sort of make sure everyone's aware of all the different things that can be done. So I'm going to choose to, first of all, you'll notice at the top here, oh, cancel that. One of these guys like so. And I can actually go in and edit documents, create a copy, that's fine. Okay. It doesn't matter how many times you do things, but okay, there we go. It's just taking a second. So there's all my tools right there. So I can go ahead and view all of the different options that are there. Whoops, bear with me. Acrobat's a little sleepy today. Much like myself, it didn't have enough coffee this morning. But this is the list of the things you can do, right? And we're not all going to do all of these things by any means. But the fact that I can convert documents from other formats to PDF is one side of the equation. The other side is I can also move a document that is a PDF into a different format as well. So you'll see here an option for export a PDF. And here are my options. And there's a lot of different capabilities here. You'll see at the very top, Adobe Express. That's a new functionality that is available through Acrobat to create an Express document from a PDF. But you can see some of the most common things. Microsoft Word, either DocX or doc files. We've got PowerPoint, Excel, image formats. A lot of people don't realize I can take any kind of file format, and some of them that usually require some other kind of application to view, like, for example, a TIFF file or possibly JPEG 2000. I can convert those to PDFs so that everybody can view that content. And I've also got other formats as well, RTFs, text files, HTML files, right? So there's a lot of different ways that I can actually, a lot of different formats I can convert to once I'm in a PDF format. So if I choose Microsoft Word, you'll see here, I can convert right to DocX. I can even set the recognized language. I just click on the convert to DocX. I get the ability here to determine where I'm going to save that file, and I just click save. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to end up with multiple versions of this, but it's that simple to go from a PDF form into something else. Now, why would you want to do this? Like, well, I've already got it in PDF, Jim. I mean, this is the whole idea. It's Acrobat. Why am I moving it out of Acrobat? Well, to be perfectly honest, if you want to do a significant amount of editing of a document, chances are really good that you'll want to move into a more native application like Word, for example, to do significant amounts of editing. You can edit a PDF inside of Acrobat. You can edit text, you can remove text, you can add text. But if you've got a lot of text to change around, maybe you're moving paragraphs or adding a lot of information, a lot of times you'll want to move back to a native application where it's a little easier to reflow that content. So, okay, now I do have this file open. This is an assignment list here. I've actually got a couple versions of it open, looks of it. But if I click inside of here, one of the things I'm going to do is go back to all my tools, and you'll see along that same bar, quick access to some of the things you might do most often. Basic editing tools, right? How do I organize the pages? How do I maybe want to add an image? Maybe I want to change or add a header and footer. Maybe I want to do some new things like stylize or use design tools to dress up this document. Because this is an old document, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Not a lot of graphics in here. So I might want to actually incorporate new elements in there to make it a little more contemporary, a little more engaging. And then I've got other options where I can go ahead and combine other files with this document. We've already seen how to prepare a form. And if it's super secret stuff, I can also redact a PDF and literally permanently redact content from the PDF. And that's an important distinction. A lot of tools will help you protect a document by basically putting a black box over something. The black box is removable. And in terms of redaction through Acrobat, it is a permanent redaction. Once you redact an element and save that document, whatever's under that box is not recoverable, right? So from a security perspective, if there's certain things, names or addresses, things like that, or credit card numbers, whatever it might be, you can redact that completely from the document, and it's not recoverable in any way. Even if you reopen the document in Acrobat, it's gone. So while I'm in the editing mode here, get rid of that little thing here. You can see here, I can go ahead and choose to add content. Okay, I've got all my text tools here. And I click over inside of my document itself. You can see I can get right in here and I can go ahead and change anything I want. Maybe I'm going to change this to 5%, right? And so I can edit this content as I go, right? I can continue to add content. Just hit the return key and I can continue to start typing. Here's more text. And as you can see, I do not type and present well at the same time. Okay, but you get the idea. So I've got the ability here to customize that document. And I hear somebody, is there a question?
Someone was chatting in the hallway. You're good.
Oh, okay. Oh, those hallway chatters, they're always getting it. Okay. So I've got the ability here to make edits, and this is a document that's multiple pages. So I can take a look here, and these are all the pages to this document. And it's pretty extensive. It's an assignment list, different assignment descriptions and so on. If I want to, I can move really quickly and navigate through these pages here as well, just by clicking on their thumbnails. If I see things that I need to change, I can go and address them right inside the document, as we saw a minute ago. If I go back out of edit for a second here, let's see here, go back to edit, here we go. Maybe what I want to do is organize the pages. Maybe something's in the wrong order, right? So as I look through here, I realize, oh, this page here really should be at the end, not at the beginning. So I can choose organize pages, and that will give me the ability to change the order. Now, this is applicable to anything you bring in as a PDF. If it's got multiple pages, this started off as a Word document. So it's been converted to PDF. I can see all the discrete pages. I can take that first page, and move it down to the end. So I can literally change things. This can become very useful, especially when you're combining multiple files together, and you can start changing the order of the content that's in there, right? So you get a lot of capability for control over the document and making it the way you want it to be. All right, so I've moved that page to the end. So we start off with assignment 1. While I'm here, maybe I mentioned earlier, it'd be really nice to dress this up with some imagery. And if I go to, you see here under add content on the left-hand side, images. So I can either choose an image I have currently on my computer, which is what I'm going to do, or I could even use the new option, generate image, where I get Adobe Firefly to create something brand new for me. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose image, and I'm going to, let's see, where did I hide that? Graphic, combine, optimize. Well, if I can't find it, oh, well, here's a couple. There we go. There's the one I wanted. Okay, so I'm just going to click open, and it brings the image in. You can see here a thumbnail view of it. I can click and drag and place it. If I don't like where it is, not a big deal. I can just reposition it. I can scale this as well. I'm going to zoom out a bit so I can see this a bit better. There we go. And I'm going to use the crop tool, maybe to crop it a bit. So I think mostly I want to scale it, but let's see. There we go. Well, actually, that might work just fine. Let me see. Let's crop a little bit from the top. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, the wrong one. So oh, hang on a second. I hit the wrong bit there. Yeah, we'll cancel out of that. We're hopping into a sneak peek. But basically, I've got the ability here to add an image, scale it, crop it, replace it. and do whatever I want with it to sort of help add additional functionality or additional engagement through adding more visuals. And in this particular case, I can continue on by going through the document and adding additional elements if I want to. If I don't like the image, easy enough to remove it, and I can browse for something new. Same idea here. Choose an image, browse your desktop, browse your computer, and drop that in. So I've got the ability to really make changes to the document even after it's been converted to PDF. Lots of control from that perspective. Okay, so we've looked at a few different things here: converting, creating, editing, creating forms. One of the other things that kind of handy is being able to combine multiple files into a brand new PDF. And this can be really helpful, especially when you've got files of different formats, right? Or if you want to keep things together in one package for somebody to keep it easy so they know this is the file to open. There's not 7 files to pick from. They don't lose track of them. So I can go back to that create option again, that button on the top bar here, and choose combine files. And I can either combine the ones that are currently open, or I can choose add files. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to grab a couple different things. I'm going to grab this PowerPoint file, and I'm going to grab the handbook again. And if I really wanted to, suppose I could grab that Excel spreadsheet. So there we've got a couple different formats here. I could also obviously grab PDFs as well. Add those files together, and you can see really quickly they get combined into one file. And you'll notice that I get an indication of how many pages these files might be. I can double click on any one of them. This is the handbook. We get to see the entire handbook, and I can organize this as well. So again, if I have blank pages that were created because of the way it was originally set up for printing, I could go ahead and either remove those or drop them down to the end. I've got that ability to look at the other files here. That was the Word document. If I double click, I can zoom in on the Word document or the Excel spreadsheet, which is taking its sweet time loading properly. Trust me, it does get readable. Or the PowerPoint file, right? So I can go ahead and do the same thing here. I can see all the pages in that PowerPoint file and decide whether I need them all, whether it's only a couple that I want to focus on. All of these things are now part of one document. I'm going to grab this one page here and get rid of that. And I think everything else, there's definitely content there. So I'm going to leave everything the way it is. And I'm just going to go ahead and choose combine. And what's going to happen is Acrobat's going to take these 3 disparate file formats and turn them into one document that I can then use and share out to people. You'll see the progress as that's happening, right? And you'll see now it's now part of what we call a binder. That's the generic name when it combines these documents. And I would obviously want to save this with a more appropriate name. But if I take a look in my pages thumbnail here, I can see there's the handbook. Scroll down far enough, I will see the spreadsheet. And if I scroll down a little further, there is the PowerPoint presentation. Everything's all in one nice, neat package. And I'll zoom out a bit inside this window so I can actually see more of that deck. So another way to sort of keep things together and help organize things more appropriately for people. All right. Now, obviously, I'm going to close this, but if I choose to, I could save this and save it with a name that's going to be relevant, but I'm not going to do that right now. But it gives you the ability here to see what you can do with that tool. Okay, so minimize this guy. Need you anymore. And okay, so a lot of times, maybe less these days than in the past, but we will end up with documents that came to us from different sources. Maybe they were scanned. Maybe it was photographed with a smartphone, and you end up with a file that may not be all that perfect. And what I mean by that is that it might be crooked. It definitely may not be very legible in terms of being accessible, but it's still something that you need to actually work with. And maybe do more work with, make it easier to read, make it an accessible, intelligent document. And Acrobat can help with that kind of thing as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back into Acrobat, and we're going to go into File, and I'm going to choose Create. PDF from file, lots of different ways to do exactly the same thing. And that's one of the great things about the way these tools work, is that you're not stuck with one mode, one workflow. You can use a traditional file open option. You could use the create button, which is the fastest way to do it, but you can get at your content in a variety of different ways. So what I've got here is this TIFF file, and I'm just going to press the space bar so you can see this. This is a scanned um, journal entry, journal document. You can see it's page 450 out of a textbook, probably. It's not particularly straight. Could have been scanned on a flatbed scanner, could have been photographed with a phone, but it's not really ideal. And as it is, it's just a picture, right? And I can read it if I'm comfortable with it and if it's legible enough, but there's no other intelligence behind it, right? So what I want to do with this is turn this into a PDF. So I'm going to take that scan, I'm going to choose open, and you'll see it opens up as we saw earlier. It's kind of crooked. If I look at the document itself, it's one big block. It's one big graphic, right? But as soon as I select that graphic, you'll notice a couple things happen. First of all, I get an option to recognize text. And I also have some options to clean this up and make it look a little more presentable. We're going to go through this a different route. I'm going to deselect this, and I'm going to choose over my tools on the left-hand side, scan and OCR. And what I want to do is I want to enhance this scanned file. And automatically here, the assumption by Acrobat is that I want to recognize any text that's there. I want to OCR text, so it becomes useful information, useful content, not just a picture text. And I also want to make sure that I clean things up, right? So if I click on the options here, you'll see I get some options for how it's going to be filtered. It's going to, it's going to deskew things. It's going to remove any, if I want to, it'll remove the background if it's there and annoying. It'll sharpen the text if I want it to make it more readable, and it'll also recognize the text. And I can edit these changes as well if I want to. I can turn them on or off. I'm going to leave the defaults as they are and just choose that option one more time and choose enhance. And again, watch, this happens pretty quickly. Now we have that journal document. It's straight. It is easier to read. The text is a little bit more legible. The text, more importantly, is selectable, right? When I clicked in the document before, I selected the entire document because it was a picture. Now I can actually get in here and actually go ahead and select any of this information. In fact, if I want to, inside this document, now that it's been recognized, I can choose to find text in the document. So I'm going to type in hazardous. Hopefully spell it right, because that's the way this works best. All right, hazardous. I'm doing exact match. And you'll see the first iteration for hazardous is right here. And then if I continue, I'll see the next appearance of that word, and so on. There are only 2 appearances of the word hazardous. Great, so we know that. So maybe the idea would be I would select that and possibly want to change it to something, a different description, right? A different descriptor. But the great thing is I've got that ability to do that. Other thing that you kind of heard by accident earlier is that now that this has been recognized by text, the text has been recognized, I can actually go into view and I can use an option called read out loud, which will read out, as we saw, in not the most natural AI voices that we're used to hearing these days, but it will basically give me take the accessible component of this document, that text layer, and read out the document for me. All right, so if I choose activate read out loud, and then I go back into my view options again, and I can say read this document, read this page only. I can start that and it'll stop it really quick.
450 L 435 Northeastern Reporter, 2D series similarly.
You get the idea. I won't expose you to too much of that. But the fact is that's a proof right there that this document is now a legible, readable, accessible file, whereas before it was just a graphic, right? Okay. I'm looking at my time here. We've got about 10 minutes before I want to leave some room for questions at the end. what else do I want to show you guys? There's so many things, right? Not a lot of people realize just how much you can do here. Okay. We looked at organizing pages. We looked at being able to turn a document. Oh, I know what it was. A lot of times when we're working with a PDF, we're also looking for feedback, right? We want other people to be able to give comments, provide feedback, possibly approvals on content. So if I go back to my assignment list here, and I've got a couple of these guys, I'm going to close you, and I'm going to close you, and I'm going to go over here to my assignments form again, and over on the right-hand side, excuse me, is the option to enable commenting. And in fact, I started this process before our session today just to get it rolling. And I can basically send this document to anyone to provide their or to get their feedback. And I asked for one of my aliases to let me know if there were any changes. So I can then go into, say, Microsoft Office, which I closed because it was bringing up too many things, or Microsoft Outlook rather, and I can see that I'll get an invitation to actually provide feedback on this document. So there we go to my email, my inbox, and there we go right there. Okay. That's for the handbook. And then I also have for the assignment. I was trying it out on different ones just to have options. So you can see here, there's the assignment list. I can comment on this. I choose open. It's going to take me out to the browser, and I'll be able to provide feedback for this document, right? I can even add little emojis, but if I want to, I'm just going to go ahead and make a comment here. I think this should go at the end. Document. And just like that, this page, and basically post that. So I can provide that feedback as the author of the original PDF. I'll get a notification there's a new comment. I can respond to that, react to it, make the change if I want, or respond back saying, no, I like this content where it is. So I've got that ability to generate a sort of a feedback workflow for a document that I'm working on. If you're working on a research project with other classmates or other faculty, this could be a great way to sort of centralize those comments. And in fact, if I go back to Acrobat, I'm not sure if my new comment will be there yet. And it is. How's that for fast? The other thing I can do here is not only can I respond to the comments, but I can actually create a content summary. So if I'm working on a team and there are multiple comments that I need to refer to later on, I can export out a comment summary of everything that everyone said about the document, right? So it gives me a lot of capability there. Because I've seen this new comment here, I can reply saying, yes, you're right. Right, this page belongs at the end of the file. And I can post that. And if we play a little bit of ping pong here, I'll hop back over to my browser. There we go. There's my response. So I'm getting that a pretty quick feedback mechanism going on here. So that's another component that a lot of people don't realize is available. There are a lot of basic tools that you might be used to with Acrobat from an editing perspective. You can highlight content. You can use a drawing tool to isolate or tie in a specific area. These are all things that you can do really quickly. And basically from there, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that box. But there's a lot of some basic content editing capabilities that are there as well. But what I want to show you last, we've got about 5 minutes left before I want to open up for questions. And that is a little taste of the future of Acrobat. And I'm going to actually bring in Acrobat in the browser here. One of the things people forget about often with tools like Acrobat is that it's not just a desktop tool. I mentioned earlier, Acrobat's here. You can do a lot with it on your phone, but it's also available in the web browser. And I'm logged in here with my credentials, and I'm going to show you a couple quick things regarding generative AI and Acrobat. Now, this is stuff that's not available to everyone. It's something that is an option for customers. But I want you to be aware of it because, hey, generative AI is everywhere. It's around us everywhere. We're going to see more of this in my 2 other sessions today. But Acrobat is one of those areas where we've put a lot of focus on how generative AI can be used from a research perspective, thinking of it from the faculty standpoint, or as a mentor for students who are trying to go through a lot of content and trying to pull out salient information for a project they're working on. And this is all done through something we call AI Assistant. Now, this is a journal abstract here from the Journal of Creativity on generative artificial intelligence and how it impacts student creativity. So I'm not going to read through this whole thing. It's 7 pages long right now. I just want to see if the right information is there. So as I'm sourcing my material for my project, I may have multiple documents I need to sort of go through and filter mentally, decide, is this applicable? Is this something I'm going to be using and citing later on in my final thesis? So I'm going to start off with this icon over in the upper right corner. This is, by the way, if you have access to this, this is part of the Acrobat desktop as well, if it's something that's been made available by the university. So first thing is executive summary, generative summary, right? This basically looks at the first few pages of a document and gives me essentially an overview of the document's contents. So I can really quickly get a sense of whether this document's going to be relevant for my research or not, right? So that gives me a general overview. I can copy this content as well. You'll notice down here, I can copy the entire summary and paste it into maybe into Word or something like that if I want to review it differently. But if I want to get more granular, I can go right into having a conversation with this document using what we call AI Assistant. AI Assistant allows me to query or interrogate the document specifically and get answers about the document itself. Now, this is very different from a lot of other tools that are out there, say, for example, ChatGPT, where when you're asking for information, you are basically letting ChatGPT search the entire web to give you an answer. And that answer may be accurate, it may not be, and you don't necessarily always know where it got its information from. AI Assistant is designed to query the actual document or documents you have given it to look at. That's its first and primary goal, right? So here you see, it even provides me with some sample questions. Provide a list of the 5 most important points in this document. How is divergent thinking skills impacted by AI in this study? What are the challenges and ethical concerns related to AI systems? So I can click on any one of these or type my own question if I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just go ahead and use that one as an example. What are the challenges and ethical concerns? Acrobat Assistant is going through the document and it will pull up any relevant information based on this question. And it can take a few seconds for it to happen. And then you'll get that list, not only of the response, the insights from the document, but also in many cases, you'll see citations. So you can actually go right to that spot in the document that is basically giving you that information. You can see here, okay, well, it may not be that clear if you're on the big screen, but I'll walk you through it. Some of the challenges: bias and ethical limitations, fake news and misleading information, intellectual property. That's all great. This all sounds very, very common sense. But how do I know this came from the document? Well, if you look at the end of each of these paragraphs, and sometimes somewhere in the middle, you'll see a little icon, right? And if I mouse over that icon, that's popping up a window that shows me exactly where that particular information came from in this document, right? So if I click on the one, it'll take me to page 2. It'll even highlight the section that talks about that particular topic. And I can do the same thing for any of these. So I can build out, I can query the document to see if it's going to have information that's going to be relevant to my project, my research, whatever it happens to be. Or I could say, let's go in here and say, create a brief email that summarizes. Oh man, too many words. I knew I was going to spell something wrong. This document. Okay. So I'll hit return. And again, Acrobat Assistant is going to go into this document, all 7 pages of it, and give me a short email that covers the document, including, again, those citations, right? So I could then copy this, put it into my email client, make corrections or adjustments as I need to, but I've got that starting point. Because again, while it's pulling from the document, you're getting the most accurate information because it is pulling from the document you're querying. You probably want to reword things a bit for you to have your own personal style and things like that. But it gives me a starting point, right? But the human element, the decision factor as to what I use, how much of it I use, is still mine to decide. I can do this with one document like I've shown you here. I can do this with up to 10 documents at a time and compare them to each other using Acrobat Assistant, which can be pretty helpful and exciting. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing because we're running out of time. And I want to see if there are any questions. I can see everybody's heads are still upright. I didn't put anyone to sleep. That's great. And I saw a question come up. Let me just see where that was. Bear with me for a second. Oh, creating table. Oh, sorry, I did not catch that. But yeah, both of those are doable. I probably can't cover them right now, but I can certainly provide you documentation through the Acrobat help files that can give you specific examples of that kind of exercise. So thank you, Anne, for that. I'll definitely make sure to follow up. Myself or Stephen will follow up with that information. Okay, that was the main thing here. Accessibility, I will address that at least briefly. Accessibility is a critical component for education. It's becoming more critical, not just for educational institutions, but for businesses, government, everything. We're seeing more and more focus, rightly so, on making sure that our documents are not only presentable, but also accessible to a wide range of audience. And we have tools inside of Acrobat, the accessibility checker, which will scour your document and find where the problems are from an accessibility perspective. It won't fix it, but it'll give you guidance on where the problems are. That's one way to do it. We also have the ability to using an accessibility API where you can actually test this out inside the web browser itself in Acrobat on the web. You can use the accessibility API to take a document and help make it more accessible right off the bat. Again, it's an ongoing process, and a lot of it will depend on the quality of the document that we're getting to begin with. But having that capability is really important. The accessibility API can be hugely beneficial for institutions or companies where they have not just a couple, but tens of thousands or thousands of documents that they're not sure that may have been created by different people using different tools, and it may not be all that particularly accessible. So the accessibility API can check for accessibility. It can add basic accessibility into the document and make those documents more usable. And just sort of, and also following along the guidelines that were being introduced by state and federal governments as well. Okay. And let's see here. Anything else? Steve, were you about to say something?
Say you got a new comment.
Oh, yes, there we go. When creating a fillable form, will a text wrap if it exceeds the field? That's an excellent question. And the answer is no. So the field is as big as you make it. So you can customize the size of the field in that form to make it more of a text field or text area rather than a single line. But it will, if you type more text than will fit in the box, it'll just basically spill outside the box. The box will not automatically expand. We have tools through some of our document management and digital marketing tools through AEM forms that will provide that level of capability, provide that intelligence in the document itself, so that as fields get larger, the boxes expand. They'll be able to do things like if-then statements. So if you answer a question one way, another question will either appear or not appear. Those kinds of controls are available in those kinds of tools. But from an Acrobat perspective, the general creation, it kind of tends to match what the document was to begin with. You can tweak it a little bit, but there's not any logic in the document to say if you go beyond the field, to expand the field for readability. So you'll be able to see that information if you're looking at it in digital form, and if you actually extract the information into a spreadsheet. But if you were to say print the form, you'd only print what was visible inside the window. Great question.
I have a question for you, Jim.
Sure.
If someone is in Acrobat, like say I'm making a doc and I'm trying to do something and I get stuck, are there resources in the program or available online that you would recommend to get is there a way to get questions answered right in the program?
There is our HelpX documentation for Acrobat online. It's not so much an instant chat inside the application. There are other resources. I believe, at least there used to be, I'd have to double check the link on it, but we had a Acro Experts website. I don't think we were running it, but it was hosted by people who used Acrobat literally every day. So there's that capability as well. There's also, by the way, from a training or education perspective, you'll find content available through tools like our Education Exchange. I'm just going to type that URL in here right now, maybe. Okay, it's not, well, that's interesting. Oh, there we go. Okay. The Education Exchange gives you, it's a great free resource for faculty and even for students, covering pretty much all the Adobe products, content, tutorials, lesson plans, rubrics, that have all been created by either Adobe experts or faculty themselves from across the globe. There's even self-paced training you can do and actually get some badges to sort of show accomplishment and that kind of thing as well. But that can be a great resource for you and for your students too. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I'll just pull up the link. Bear with me for a quick second here while I double check it. Okay, here we go. Just pop this link into the chat as well. Okay, so that is our HelpX documentation, basically from beginner into intermediate users. There's a lot of great information in there. I'm walking you through Acrobat literally from start to finish. And you can see tutorials. There's a user guide there. There's how to get started, and essentially lots of, again, ways to sort of find information from that perspective. The other thing you have access to through your agreement with Adobe is access to something called expert sessions. Now, this has to be coordinated through your IT department, but your IT department can request an expert session for you or a small group to cover a specific topic. Like, for example, how do I create a table of contents in Acrobat Pro? That could be a topic that an expert, could be a subject matter expert, could help you with. And that gives you, it's usually about, I think, a half-hour session that you can book that will be booked at your convenience to help support you do a specific thing in an application, whether it's Acrobat or Photoshop or whatever. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jim. That's super helpful.
You're very welcome. And it looks like doesn't seem to be any other questions, but as I said, Steve and I can follow up with additional documentation. The two links I gave you are probably a couple of the best ones for getting assistance or getting sort of trained up on all the things that Acrobat can do. Hopefully that this session gave you some ideas into things that you have not done before, and give you a sense that Acrobat is not just about reading a PDF. right? You can go back and forth, you can convert content, you can build out forms, you can combine elements, you can use it as a feedback cycle for content. And as we've seen towards the end there, with the advent of generative AI, there's additional power that's being introduced into Acrobat that is available as an option for customers. Oh, great. Thank you, Katie. Excellent. All right. Well, I'm going to thank you all for your attention and time and questions. Really, really great to have a chance to share what Acrobat can do with all of you. Hopefully, I'll see some of you in, I guess, about 30 minutes or so for our Adobe Express session. We'll be talking about more about generative AI, but more about uh, content creation in general for everybody, not just for graphic designers and specialists.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you for everyone online and in person for joining us. And yeah, join us at 10:30 for our Express workshop if you would like.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Jim.
Take care.
You know, I'm sure that's where the